Okay, my buddy Shadow here likes to run out the door and gets very excited when guests arrive. A lot of barking, jumping up too. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to, because security is typically handled by a senior ranking or authority figure in the pack, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to communicate that the door answering responsibility falls to the humans. The dog's job is to stay in the back as a follower, literally in a follower position, and let the humans answer the door. Now, when most people come to the door, our dogs bark and we feel embarrassed, so we rush the door. And that actually, we're thinking in our minds that the rushing will stop the dog from barking. It really tells the dog, whoever this jerk is outside is making my humans really anxious. Look how fast they're moving. So I have to really bark at them. So what I do is when the dog starts barking, I'm going to get up and I'm going to walk to the door very casually. Shadow, I don't want you looking in that direction because I don't want you to see who's coming to the door. Sit. And we'll talk about petting with a purpose off camera. So I'm going to walk very casually to the door, and once I pass the dog, then I'm going to turn and start marching towards the dog until the dog passes the boundary that I've established. In your house, it's a little bit further away from the door than I'd like, but I want the dog to be able to see the door. They can't see it, their imagination makes it horrible. So this way, because you have hardwood floor to carpet, it's a very easy line of demarcation for her to see. Now, as soon as she's on the carpet, I'm going to stop marching at her. But anytime she goes on the wood, I'm going to start rushing at her like she stole something. I'm not going to stop, but I'm going to move very briskly towards her. Giving and taking territory is a huge part of how dogs communicate with one another. And so when I'm trying, because she's going to try to be like, look, you're not authorized or equipped to handle the situation. Handle the door, that's my job. So she's probably going to protest a little bit, and that's okay. Just like when you have children, you don't take it personal when they do something. It's just, can I have chocolate cake? No. No matter what the child says, empathy, please, I'm going to hold my breath, I hate you, you're consistent, I love you, and you're still not getting a chocolate cake. So for her, no matter how much she protests, I'm just going to be very methodical in moving her back and keeping my cool about it. Now, once she gets across the line, I'm going to walk backwards. My authority as a human goes whichever direction I'm facing, whichever direction my hips and shoulders are pointed at. So when I turn, once I get her on this side of the boundary, or once I get behind her with the door behind me, I'm going to walk towards her, and at that point I'm like a soccer goalie. I'm not going to let her pass me on either side. Okay. Nate's 1 minute estimate is not very good. That's okay. And so I'm going to keep, and then I'm going to walk backwards. I'm going to pause in between each step to read the dog. Now if the dog stays in place, then we're going to go ahead, is that your phone? Let me see, can I read for you? Here. All right, so hopefully he will come to the door. So if the dog stays in place, I can take another step backwards, and I stop and I read the dog again. So I keep on moving backwards until I get all the way up to the door. Now when I get to the door, a lot of people then turn their hips away from the door, and they come on in. Well, hopefully he's not waiting for us.
Do you want me to text him?
Yeah, if you could, and I'll continue to talk while if you can one-handed text. Say, start a knocking. So when you go to the door, you're going to make sure you keep your hips and shoulders pointed at the dog. And I'm going to reach around and I'm going to grab and jiggle the deadbolt first. And that sound is a trigger that precedes the door opening. So that often causes the dog to run forward. So I want to jiggle that a couple times so the dog is prepared for that and knows or it gets to practice staying back. Then I'm going to go to jiggling the handle. Then I'm going to open the door a little bit. So I'm going to break it down to individual steps so the dog we're basically putting the dog in position to succeed. And I'm not going to open the door unless I have the situation completely under control. Now, usually when you're indicating going through the triggers, the dog's going to start coming forward. At that point, I abort, I stop what I'm doing with the door, and I rush at the dog until it gets back across the boundary. Now, because you're not going to want your guests to experience this unless it's a friend, I would suggest you and Nate come up with, text or call each other when you're on your way home. Okay. So that way the dog, you can practice with him and he knows what's going on. So now the person should knock. We'll see if Nate remembers how I told him to knock, because I told him I wanted him to knock exuberantly. And so, all right, so let's go out friend. So turn around and we'll just stay right about here. Come a little closer. So I'm walking casually.
Yes.
There we go. One step and I pause. One step and I pause. if she were to come forward, I rush forward. So I'm doing this very methodically. So 0 tolerance. Any paw across the line, I rush.
Okay.
I had asked him to knock, ring the doorbell, knock, ring the doorbell.
Oh.
That's okay. But when you guys are doing it, you want to make it as strong a stimulus as
Okay.
possible.
Okay.
And what I'm doing, notice I'm centering my feet. I'm not stopping like this. This looks like I'm transitory, like I don't know what I'm doing. So now, again, see how she kind of lunged a little bit?
Uh-huh.
She needs to think, oh my God, that human's going to run me over.
Okay.
Now, if she sits or lies down, I'm taking multiple steps. You should stop in between step the first couple times at least when you're doing it. If she sits or lies down, I can take multiple steps. All right, so now I get to the door. Then I open up one crack. Then I open it behind me. So my hips are pointed at her wherever she goes.
Okay.
Now you have 2 ways to go.
Yeah.
So I usually go like this style, but I did specifically for her. You might want to block that exit.
Okay.
There we go. She's like, but that's Nate, that's my buddy.
That's my person.
Now this will help her with self-control. Now normally I don't put a dog into an SIT, but because we're long on the video length, and because it's, so again, I have to have good timing with my correction. I have to accelerate.
Okay.
I have to really accelerate when she crosses the threshold. All right, so now I do the same thing when I get to this door. I'm moving backward faster than I normally would, but I'm going to open it and let Nate come in. Come on in. See how she's staying behind the line?
Uh-huh.